Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the GuildMag podcast. As always, I am Valiant and joining me today we have Casey.
Hello!
We were hoping to have Jason join us this week, but unfortunately he hasn't been able to. Hopefully we'll get him on sometime in the future. But anyway, today we are going to be discussing the Dragon's Reach Part 2, the upcoming feature pack and the mid-season break, and some stuff that's been happening at Gamescom. Remember, for those of you not watching this live, you can catch us every Thursday at 10 AM GMT, even though we're recording this today on a Friday, on twitch.tv/GuildMag, where you can share your views with us in the chat as we go along. So before we begin, Casey's going to do a quick rundown of this week's news.
Yeah, pardon me. So the news this week is pretty easy. There was the Living Story update, Dragon's Reach Part 2, which kind of, and with this update, it's now the mid-season finale, if that's a thing, a mid-season finale. So there's going to be a break now, and that is followed by the announcement of the feature pack, the September 2014 feature pack. So that's something really interesting with lots of information coming out about it. This fortnight in the gem store came out the Chaos Skin weapons, which are kind of linked to Guild Wars 1 weapons. The Wreath of Cooperation, that's really hard for me to say, is a new skin, a headpiece skin, and a mini Leyline Leecher, which is a Leyline Leecher mini.
Yeah.
And the last piece of news is ArenaNet is at Gamescom. Yay! So if you're in, I don't know how to say the name because like I'm so far away from Europe, it's not funny. But when I read it as Cologne.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
That's how you say it.
Yay! All right. So is that where like Cologne came from? I wonder. Anyway, So at the Gamescom, they're obviously giving out a chance to win a mini llama, and there was also a little competition on Guild Wars Reddit to give out a little mini nut llama. I entered, didn't get it, but oh well, what can you do?
I didn't even know one was happening, to be honest. So
it was so cute. It's just a little llama. So yeah, if you're in Cologne, go to Gamescom. You might get a little llama.
Okay. Oh, and as a side note, GuildMag is also at Gamescom this week. We have had an interview with ANET devs, which we will be publishing on the website this weekend. We might tease some things in it throughout this episode. We might not. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, do watch out for that. So before we begin, as usual with these kind of patches, we do need to put out a spoiler warning. If you haven't played the patch yet, you might want to go and play it before listening to us talk about it, because we probably are going to spoil all of it for you.
Definitely going to spoil it.
So, shall we kick things off then with generally did we enjoy it or not? For me, like I think it's generally gone down really well with the whole community. I really enjoyed it, especially the ending of it. I think it's a suitable for like mid-season finale.
Yeah.
Go on.
Sorry, I was just saying when you said mid-season finale, it didn't leave any cliffhangers. Like there were things that you want to know, but there's no like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? You know, like not like last week or anything like that. So I think it's very good. Yeah.
So it was kind of a short, I guess, shorter than the other ones in terms of the amount of content we had to play. It was all instance this time around. There was none of that have to do open world events, which I think last week we were actually kind of speculating that the champion might have been an open world event. I'm a little bit surprised it wasn't, but it makes sense of how they did it in the end. So I don't really have any issues with that. One thing I'm happy about is that there weren't any real bugs. So there was nothing stopping me from having to not play it and having to play it this morning before the podcast and all that kind of.
Yeah, you could get it all done. I got it all done in one sitting, which is really nice.
Yes.
I really don't like to go away and come back with those sort of things.
No, I don't. So it began kind of uniquely with a non-combat encounter. I don't know if we've seen one of them yet. I think up until this point, every kind of mission has been combat orientated. I actually really liked it. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it was a nice change of pace for me to not just be smacking something over the head all the time. I'll admit, I'm not an RP player or anything, but I kind of got into it because I was playing on my char, and I was like, okay, I've got to be a char with all these humans going around trying to say the right thing, and like, I genuinely enjoyed it from that perspective. How about you? What did you think of it?
Oh geez, it really it changes depending on what you do and what you like. I really, the first time I played it, I was like you, I got into the RP kind of feel of it. But the thing is that with these sort of games, they're so easy to mess up in certain ways because I was going, okay, I want to avoid suspicion, so I don't want people to know that I'm trying to gather information from them. So I went to one of the dialogue options, which was like, oh, is that so, like not prodding the person, just being very delicate? And then I didn't do it, and then it's like, oh, you've raised suspicion. I'm like, what? Like, but I said the thing that was least suspicious, or because I didn't prod right in the right areas. So it's a divergent from what they normally do, but it's not an unwelcome one. It's not unfun. That is now a word, unfun. One of the things that the problems that I will actually bring up a little bit later, I think, is I've actually done that instance 6 times now.
Wow.
Because I did all the achievements with my husband, and then I replayed it I did it myself, then I replayed it with my husband, and then I did it with the achievements with my husband. And one of the achievements is if you make one wrong misstep, you have to restart the whole instance. And when I first played that, I really liked the instance, and then once I had done it so many times trying to get the achievements and everything, I hated it. I never want to do that instance again, because especially when you're doing the achievements, and this is a problem we'll bring up later, is that you have to talk to people, and there's timed, like when you first get in, there's like 10-20 seconds of Casimir talking, and so you just end up sitting there hearing the same thing again. And if I hear Casimir talk again, I'm gonna rip her face off. No, I swear, but yeah, so basically there was some it was very different, and I did enjoy it. I'm definitely saying I did enjoy it, but there is some tiny incy little flaws in there.
Yeah, I did think while I was playing it, do you actually know what happens if the suspicion bar goes full? Like, do you have to start again completely?
That is really interesting, because it kind of like has a little bit of lore. If you go all the way to the suspicion bar, Casimir goes, no, this is not what's supposed to happen. It's kind of like really dire sound to a voice, and then you see like the Mesmer mass invisibility skill. Well, the camera kind of elusively goes over like near to where a top view of where Anise is standing, and then the Mesmer blink goes on. Except instead of making the mass invisibility, it seems to turn back time. It's really weird. Like Anise Casimir makes, that makes my head spin. And then your character's like, what happened? And she's like, I don't know. I think someone created, I don't know if she knows Anissa. She goes, someone created a diversion. Looks like we can try again, or something like that. And it's like, did she create a diversion, or did she turn back time? Because you have to go and talk to everyone from the beginning again, which is massive. Can Anise turn back time? That's nuts.
That would be massive.
That is really crazy.
That is.
And that's like insane amount of power.
That's interesting. Yeah, so I was so.
You see the brain?
I was so determined not to fill that suspicion meter. I was about halfway through, I think, and I was like, I hadn't done anything suspicious, and I was getting ready to brag to you about how I'd got through without doing anything. And then by the end of it, like the last half was just nearly there. So I can't brag that I didn't arouse any suspicion.
I was the same as you. I was like, I'm gonna get through this with no suspicion, and then I like talked to this one lady, and I couldn't figure out, like my head was like, I couldn't comprehend what I was doing wrong, and so like I filled up my suspicion bar halfway on one lady, and then eventually I got kicked out. But
So shall we summarize kind of what happened overall patch-wise then?
Yep.
Do you want to
take
us through that?
Okay. I'll take it away. So basically this one kind of started with the RPG style kind of interrogation, ace attorney interrogation sort of thing. So it's still kind of the roundup of the side quest to get the leaders to go to the summit. For example, someone blamed Queen Jenna of being in cahoots with Scarlet, so we got to go and clear her name so she can go to the summit, you know, that sort of thing. And the second one is we have to get Councillor Phlunt to go because he's changing his what's it called? He said he would go, but now he's like, I don't want to go. You know, it's typical Zura. So like we got to finish up those subplots and get them out of the way. So that all of the leaders can attend the summit. And so when they do attend the summit, which is I think 2 instances, in the third instance they do attend the summit, and where there's the parade. Oh, I can't remember what the World Summit. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a parade of leaders, a procession of leaders. There we go. That's the word. Which was really cool, man. It had such a great atmosphere. They had new like royal music going on that made me feel like, and something about it, the way that the NPCs were positioned and stuff, like as a MMO player, I kind of expected myself to like just jump in the middle of the parade and not really role play, but I felt the urge to stay behind the line of the people and like view like a parade.
That's exactly what happened with me.
Yeah, exactly. Me and my husband both did it. We were like standing, you know, on the edge, trying to follow the people going, and then new white bear's coming. You run back up to the start again. So that was really great. I don't know how they achieved that atmosphere, but they really did. It was all atmosphere. It made me feel very into it. And there was some reoccurring characters there. One thing I have to say is the whole community is shipping Kanek and Anise like crazy. Like, I am not really into the shipping kind of thing. I'm like, oh, you know, whatever floats your boat. But with Kanek, I'm doing the like Brangelina. Kanek and Anise, their dialogue is amazing, man. It is the best dialogue I've ever heard. It is a pleasure to hear them speak. And I don't know if you did it, but I went to them all the time. Like, do they have new dialogue? Do they have new dialogue? Every time I do something, I'm like, can I go see them again?
I did that as well. I'm not normally one for staying around for dialogue like that. If it's not, I'm kind of like, if it's not directly important to me, they can just talk about it in their own time kind of thing. But that one, like, I was genuinely interested in what had happened and why, you know, why he was there and all that. Yeah, it was amazing. I was just so blown away how good their dialogue was. So that was so if you go into any of like Tumblr or anything like that, people are shipping them like crazy, and I kind of agree. It's irresistible how cool they are. So then that kind of is the last instance, and it gets to the big meaty juicy bit of the patch, which is the boss fight. So yes, there was the big champion boss fight with the really cool mechanics and the shadow of the shadow of the dragon, and that dragon is Mordremoth. So there's a lot of cool things about that we can talk about, and also the Pale Trees cutscene is a massive thing. That is. So I think we should start our discussion with basically there's so many things to talk about. Choose one.
So you choose one. Okay, let's start in like order. Okay. I think that we've already discussed the first instance. Let's go to the second one with the Councillor Phlunt.
Yeah.
And Taimi's machine. Now, you've made your opinions to me about Councillor Phlunt.
Yeah.
I have to say it really carefully, because you've made your feelings very clear to me, and I do agree. However, so first you tell the lovely boys and girls how you feel about the lovely councillor.
Councillor Phlunt is I dislike him, for lack of a better word. I just
dislike, really.
Well, if this was an 18+ stream, I'd say it, but no, like I really dislike him and how he treated Taimi. He's like, this invention, mine, you know, trying to and that was something I'd never really thought about in Azura culture before. It's like, what happens when your progeny does something better than you can do. Like, they're basically no longer a progeny then, are they?
Yeah.
So I did, as much as I hate him, I did find it really interesting to think about. But yeah, I don't think we're done with that yet.
No, yeah.
I'm looking forward to see where that's going to lead. One thing I did want to bring up actually is this is the first time I've ever really thought of Taimi as a vulnerable child.
Yes.
Kind of in the past, we've always been told, oh, we need to keep her safe, because when she was left in like Scarlet's thingy in Dry Top, her little home, it was like, oh, you know, make sure she's safe. And I was like, she'll be fine, you know, but I genuinely, I like genuinely felt for her this time. Like, she was crying and she was like, "Help me!" And like, normally I'd just be like, "I'm coming," you know, give me a minute. But I genuinely like ran to her aid this time, and I felt.
Oh my god, me too. There's another thing, like. I just ignored the two on the side. I went straight to aggro those things. And like, because I played on my Ellie straight away, I used the number 4 on my dagger, which is the lightning dash, and you cover so much distance. And then I used the 5, which is the knockback, like you do a roll back and knocks them back. And it's beautiful. I felt like a hero. Like, I really didn't want them to get close to her. And I actually don't. I've played the instance 3 times now, and I don't know what happens if you let them get close to her. Like, I've just never let it happen.
No, I haven't. I've obviously playing as a guardian on my great sword. I use number 5 skill where you're whooshing back towards you. I was like, get here, you.
Get over here.
I don't know. But yeah, I really felt sorry for the kid. Poor little Taimi.
Yeah, like hearing your thing, I actually have a different theory. I actually think I hope, like, this is my, you know, hopeful brain coming through. I think Phlunt actually might be a good character in disguise. Just he might be like a grouchy, horrible old Azura, but I personally think like him taking the device, because he saw that when it, you know, that the Mordrim were attracted to it, and if Taimi has it, she's going to always get into trouble with it, and you know the Mordrim are always going to be coming after her. So taking it, and she's a progeny, she's a child. There's a duty of care that he can't really let a child defend herself from all these Mordrims. He has to take it away from her, and you know, take it to adults to, you know, protect it and things like that. And I'm really hoping that he's not as bad of a evil, you know, bad of a character as he seems. I'm hoping that like maybe later on the line we'll see that he had maybe a little bit more. I'm not expecting him to be like, oh, the Archangel Gabriel. I'm kind of expecting him to be like, you know, he had some legitimate worries and he was concerned about Taimi's well-being. And I think there will be a subplot to that. Yeah. Like you said, you know, it's not going to end there. There's going to be more to it, I believe.
I definitely agree. I was going to say something I've forgotten now.
Well, while you think about that, just someone put in chat, someone goes, during the Azuran story, the Azuran Council knows a way to help combat the dragons, but they don't want to do anything. And they're like, oh, you know, it's kind of like the Arcane Council, like, is Phlunt really that bad? Because the Arcane Council is kind of bad, but it's hard to tell. Yeah.
I still can't remember. Should we just move on?
Yeah, if you remember it, we'll come back to it. So the next thing we're going to probably talk about is the boss fight mechanics of the Shadow of the Dragon, and the way it's presented. I mean, the first part of that is totally boring. Like, oh, you know, here's the lection. Oh, why should we help? Oh, and then, like, I swear to God, our answer to every single one, like, all the leaders go, why should we help? And we go, well, what are you going to do when they get to insert home, you know, home city here? Every single one of you go, what happens when they get to Hellbreak? What happens when they get to the Black Citadel? It's just, it was boring, man. But, you know, it's hard, you know, they had to have a summit before the dragon came. But anyway, onto the dragon. Did you like the boss fight?
Oh, I really loved it. I genuinely, I found it challenging but not too difficult. I did it within like 6 or 7 minutes. So, but I found like I did enjoy it. Like the mechanics were good. There's like lots of AOE's to avoid. It wasn't just smack its head constantly. It was good. It felt like an epic fight. For me, the only thing I'd say is I felt like when you actually did get to hit the dragon, I felt like I hit it too hard. Because I mean, 3 hits and I'd be on to like the next phase again. So that's the only little criticism I have of that. What about you?
It seems like chat is mirroring your point of view. They're saying they really enjoy it and that sort of thing. But I agree. Like, I found the mechanics really awesome and just intense. Like, there was not a moment where I'm like, oh, get over with. Half the HP bar. I wasn't feeling like that, which is great. But I actually did the challenge mode because I did the achievements, and the challenge mode actually adds some new mechanics into the fight as well, which is amazing. Like, obviously they made this difficult fight and they thought, okay, this might be a bit too difficult, and because like there's some people saying in the chat that the armor broke, and for me as an Ellie, I also had a bit of difficulty with just how many things were going on and the stomps and all the knockdowns and things like that. And I also died a few times. But when you've got other people, it's really helpful. But when we did the challenge mode, you have a minimum of 3 times. If you die more than 3 times, you lose the achievement. So it made it even more difficult. I'm losing my train of thought, sorry. But yes, I did really enjoy it. I thought the mechanics were great. Even the challenge mode mechanics add, like, you get sucked in by vine pods and you have to destroy vine pods and to help people out, and just little things like that are really cool, and add new things, and it was really a fresh fight. And it kind of makes me feel really good about, obviously they're going to turn it into a world champion. They'd be nuts not to. It makes me feel really good about where it's going.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. We actually last week talked about if they'd be reusing champions and we were kind of right.
Yay!
But yeah, I'm glad to see they basically redesigned the whole encounter for like nowadays. For those of you who don't know, if you play as a Sylvari, this is also the champion you encounter in the dream before you awake. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. So speaking
sorry.
I was just going to say, speaking of that then, I was going to segue into if anyone has any theories about the lore of how it's actually managed to manifest itself in this world.
Yes, I was going to segue into the same thing, you and me.
Yeah.
I think in tune. But yes, like, because we were talking about this earlier in the show, weren't we? Well, not earlier in the show, sorry. Before the show. And basically we're talking about how it is in the Pale Tree's dream. The dreaming, I think it's called. Can't remember. But what happens is that the Nightmare Court poisoned the dream somehow. I can't remember. It was a long time ago when I played. And the poison manifested as a dragon, and you had to slay the dragon. And I think that's also how we got our wild hunt as well, because our wild hunt was to kill the dragon. And it manifests as the same model. And this is really like cementing, like seriously cementing the player theory of that the Pale Tree was a champion of Mordramoth, but it broke free, like Glint broke free of Kralkatorrik, that the Pale Tree has broken free thanks to the kind teaching of Rowan and stuff. And it is super cementing this. Like, they are just giving us all the things we need to confirm this now. And it's really great. Because that's like a theory that a lot of people have. A lot of people believe this theory, and now that but it's never been confirmed, and now that we're getting the evidence for it, it really feels great. Like, yeah, we were right, that sort of thing. But I'm fully aware that they might be trying to throw us a curveball. Like, they're like, ooh, you think it's this, but bam, it's, like the other way or something like that. But there's just like, for example, in this patch, we'll talk about this later, the seed vine. The seedling is sprouting, and every patch we get an update to the back piece, and now it's an ascended back piece. And the text, the flavor text on it is also confirming this kind of theory as to, you know, the pale tree is a seed of Mordramoth. But yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so in chat we had someone ask, wasn't that Wild Hunt misinterpreted though? I think it was the Wild Hunt turned out to be, your Wild Hunt was to kill Zaitan, and then recently it's been revealed that actually that was just like part 1 of the Wild Hunt, and it's now to kill Mordramoth as well. I think Traherne says that to you if you're a Sylvari. Yeah.
He says, I think he either says it's misinterpreted or you've gotten a new one, or it's been revitalized, or something like that. Something like that, yeah.
So, something I did want to bring up, actually, is there seems to be a lot of parallels between Glint and the Pale Tree, if we assume she was a champion of Mordramoth gone good, severely weakened by the fact that they've kind of cut themselves off from their Elder Dragon. Because we saw Glint obviously couldn't do anything against Kralkatorrik. Pale Tree basically couldn't do anything against just a champion of Mordramoth, let alone Mordramoth himself. So it definitely, to me, kind of confirms it. But again, like you said, they could be just throwing us another curveball.
The red herring.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways it could go, and I'm really looking forward to. I'm honestly, either in any way they go, I think I'll be quite satisfied. It just feels really good.
Speaking of the Pale Tree being weakened, then should we talk about that on the cutscene?
Yes, the cutscene. I bet everyone in the Twitch is like, oh, talk about the cutscene. Talk about the cutscene. Everyone, even people watching, like, they're going to get to the cutscene soon, aren't they? So I'll just do a quick rundown of what the cutscene was. Basically, I've watched it like multiple times, so I think I've got it all good. So basically, the Pale Tree says, "Come closer, I'm weakened," and you come closer, and she gives you this vision. And it kind of shows like this picture of this forest, and you actually see the Pale Tree's face in the trees, like the twigs and branches are arranged to make like a woman's face, which is the Pale Tree. And then it goes into the forest, and the forest is like it's green, and then it turns cold and it's snowy and all, you know, and then it goes through the forest, and the forest opens up, and then it comes to this visage of kind of like a golden heaven, almost like you're above the clouds, and the sky and the clouds are all bathed in gold, and it's just beautiful. And then all of a sudden we see, I think the dragon, the champion of Mordramoth that we just fought, kind of flies in, and he's like flying around, like almost he's looking for something, or he's lost, or I don't know. And then there's big what's it called, pillars of magical energy, I would assume, like lasers of energy coming up through the clouds, like parting the clouds, bam, 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 and and it seems to be something rising from beneath the golden clouds, and it's I'm not sure what it could be. It could be rocks, but it's something and I personally believe it's a city. What did you think when you saw them rise?
I honestly had no idea. I've watched it 3 times now, and like that's the one part that I just can't think. I just can't think of.
It's very mysterious what's rising up out of the clouds, and then the camera dives beneath the clouds, and it follows this golden orb. I think it's an orb or a golden something down the pillars underneath the clouds, and you see kind of like this ancient setting. Like, I don't know if this is my mind just embellishing, but it's like this ancient setting in these pillars, and in between the pillars, like almost in this seat of power almost, is this golden orb shining. There's just so much gold everywhere. And closer to the camera, around the golden orb is these spiked purple crystals, and we actually see the camera lens kind of shatter. Like the camera lens isn't clear anymore. There's like it's, you know, the glass on the camera lens is shattered, and then also the crystals start shattering, like cracking and shattering, and it actually zooms. Oh, sorry, off my microphone. It zooms back.
Off.
You zoom back, and it actually shows that these thorny vines or 40 tendrils, whatever, are actually like trying to get their way into this golden area. And it zooms back again, and the vines are like going over, like snakes going over themselves to get into this area, and it goes back again, and there's even more of them, and it kind of creates this image of that these things are infesting this area. And I think that's where it ends off. What's the last scene? I think the last scene
is just those vines, kind of.
Just the vines. Yeah.
So...
and yeah, that's the end of the scene, and then she's gone. She's gone unconscious, and we run down to see if the leaders are alright, and kind of, I didn't know what to make of it the first time I watched it.
I thought that if we just backtrack 1 second, actually, do we think the pale tree is actually mortally wounded? Because, like, surely the pale tree can't die, because isn't that just basically saying goodbye to all Silvaria ever being created again, as far as we know?
I think they need to get her out of the way because she knows too much. She should know too much in the lore. And she's a character that could go, oh, you know, like she's been keeping it secret, but she, you know, when the time comes, she could go, oh, well, actually, I'm this, this, and this, and we can kill it by doing this, this, and this. But it would just give too much away, and too much, so they're trying to hold it back, you know, like she needs to be neutralized basically for the story. So I think they'll keep her unconscious until they can revive her, and she's not so much a danger to the story anymore. I don't think she's dead. It would be silly to kill off a character like that. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the cutscene then.
Yes.
So my first impression.
So hang on, can we just say? We'll just say. We'll do our theories, and then we'll read your guys' theories.
Yeah.
So if you're in the stream at the moment, put down your theories into the chat, and we will read them afterwards. So go ahead, Ron.
Okay, so mine is not as good as Ali's. We've already been through this. It's not even a theory, really. So when I first saw the crystals, I think my immediate thought was definitely Kralkatorrik and the Branded, and all that kind of thing. And in particular, I was reminded of Glint and the battle that she'd had with Kralkatorrik, and actually even my mind kind of cast back to Glint's lair in Guild Wars 1, seeing those crystals, and like it kind of to me looked like it was showing you part of like a room, kind of, I don't know, like
yeah.
And the problem I've got is that there's so many different types of crystals that have been used in the game throughout Guild Wars 1, Guild Wars 2, and kind of in between the books, that it's hard to pinpoint exactly what we're being shown. Like I wasn't sure at first. Like I kind of thought, is that a bloodstone? Is it not? Is it? Part of my mind thought, has it got anything to do with the mind control crystals that Snaf used in the Edge of Destiny book? Another thought was, does it have anything to do with the green crystals of Dragon's Blood that Kaith was picking up at the end of Edge of Destiny? And to me, this would make a little bit of sense, because obviously Kaith is a Silvari, her home has just been attacked. Surely that's going to come into play at some point. I don't imagine like she'd keep something like that secret for much longer after what's just happened.
Yes, and Scarlett did mention that she'd had a secret.
She did, and we never found out what that one was, actually. So that was kind of my just little ramblings on it. You've got a much better theory that I think people will appreciate more.
So this, I can't take credit for the entire theory, because my husband Stefan also, like, we saw the cutscene and we're like, so what do you think it means? And so we just sat there talking about it. But personally, I really like the idea of the crystals kind of belonging to Kralkatorrik as well. I mean, I personally think that those crystals are very symbolic of Kralkatorrik, and I've also talked to you about this, that the Mordramoth has this green, is a green image, but it also has this purple glow to some of the vines. If you're at the edge of Top Dry, when we first entered Top Dry, there was a vine curling around, and the very tip of it was still growing, and the tip of it was just a blinding white purple, a very funny color. And then if you actually enter Top Dry, the first area, some of the vines are actually split and seeping purple magic through it. And you also see with the back piece, that back piece is very purple as well. And that kind of gives me the impression that there's something going on. And now with Kralgatoric, and now with the crystals in that image, and that, you know, Mordramoth is coming into it and infecting it and taking it over and that sort of thing, is a very interesting concept. And my husband specifically thought, you know, what has to do with Kralgatoric and what has to do with magic and what does Mordramoth want? And we came to the idea of Glint's baby. And a lot of people are really talking about Glint's baby and they want to see it and everything like that. But the golden orb must represent a lot of power. And you know, it's really hard to say. There was one of the most, you know, one of the cutscenes that are really hard to decipher. But also, one thing I also told you about before the show was I believe it relates back to the previous cutscene we saw as for the Eternal Alchemy. In that Eternal Alchemy cutscene, we saw the 6 orbs in the middle. And in the middle was another coloured orb. I can't remember what colour it was. But what we saw was all the orbs move around, and Mordramoth's orb went into the circle and basically corrupted it. Like, it changed the colour and it looked like corruption, basically. And what we are seeing in this Pale Trees cutscene is Mordramoth going into something with its vines and corrupting something, you know, in the same sort of way. So I believe that something is going on. Mordramoth is doing something or will do something quite big and extensive, and these two visions are showing us the same event in different ways. Which is really, like, one of them is an Azura way, one of them is a Sylvari way. It's only natural that the Sylvari would see something with trees, and it's only natural that the Azura would see things with, you know, the way that those orbs were spinning around. So as for what it means, I honestly can say I have no idea. I don't think anyone has any idea. Everyone was so stumped by this, but we have a few ideas what it could relate to.
Yeah. I think, drawing on your thing of Glint's baby, it would make sense with how they'd bring, like, the Zephyrite into it, because up until now it's kind of just been a little subplot that, oh, they crashed here, and then we've discovered more from it, but they haven't really done much else with it yet. So that could be how they tie that in. Should we see what chat has to say about it then?
That sounds good.
So I had one up and I've missed it.
Was that the Fanoki one?
No.
Should I read it?
Do you want to do that one?
Go on. All right. So Fanoki in our Twitch stream says, tinfoil hat theory. Someone in my guild is convinced that the cutscene refers to the Masat towers and crystals, giant ether seals, etc. And that would also relate to the Bloodstone, because it was the original racers who created the Bloodstone, and the Masat are loosely related to that. So that's a good one. Something
I did want to mention with that one actually is in the RP cutscene, not the cutscene, the instance, the first one. I actually wrote this down on my notes, and I'm quite proud of this. Minister Arton actually specifically says that they have reason to believe that there are bandits connected to the White Mantle, and they've actually mentioned the White Mantle in game. I'm not sure if they've mentioned it before, as of yet in the whole saga. So this is the first time we've actually seen them mentioned, and obviously the Masat and the White Mantle go hand in hand, so that could be a very real possibility.
This is very true. They do mention the White Mantle before. I mean, the Personal's human story does have a lot to do with the White Mantle, but it's very fleeting. It's like, the White Mantle exists. And then, you know, that's about it. So yes, that is, what are they trying to bring up with the White Mantle? What are they bringing together in the Masat? That's very cool. It's hard to tell if they're just bringing it up because they're like, oh, have some free lore, or they're going, oh, this is a little secret for something later, you know?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so should we read another one?
Yep. So Toz Lol has put a theory out. So maybe the goldenness of the room represents Tyria as the way it is, with everyone in peace and tranquility. The purple crystals then representing Kralkatorrik and the branded that have already branded the world, leaving the destructful vines as a sign of Mordramoth just pew-pewing the entire world. I like that one.
Pew-pewing the entire world. I like that as well. And yeah, and someone else in here, Vengeful Axiate. Sorry. It says the crystals remind me of Guild Wars 1 mission. I think it's called Dragon's Lair, which is the lair of glint.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the one you're talking about, which is what you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Blue Bob also says I think it's he thinks it's the glint baby as well.
Yeah.
So
lots
I think
of ways
we're doing alright.
Yeah, there's lots of ways they could go with it. Okay, so shall we move on then? Because we've talked about this for quite a while.
Oh my gosh, we have. Oh my gosh, I know. All right, so we'll be quick. We've pretty much talked about the future of the living story, so we don't really need to. But if you've got your own ideas, make sure you put them and comment and wherever you want, and we'll get them.
Yeah, we'll definitely read them. So moving on to the feature patch then, because we now are in the mid-season break. So this week is, they call it competitive week, I think, where they're talking all about PvP and World v World stuff. And then next week as well, because we're on Friday. So we've had commander icons were going to become account-wide and colour-coordinated. We actually posted a little something about that on GuildMag as well, which you could go and check out if you wanted.
I think also the price has changed from 100 gold to 300 gold.
Wow. That's me out then.
Yeah, which kind of adjusts for inflation, because at the start of the game 100 gold was like, wow, and now everyone in the mum has 100 gold. So yeah, that's really interesting. Also, they said that the colours will not be, you won't be able to choose from all the colours you'll have to buy individually.
But I like the change, actually. I'm not a big World v World player, but I think I like it. I think it's something that's definitely going to help. So another thing that you know more about than I then is the possibility of gambits during dungeons. Do you want to mention that a little bit? Yes.
So this is just something that was data mined. It is not in no way Sorry, we just got a question. I just wanted to quickly do this. Will every commander tag cost 300 gold if you already have one? If you already have one, pretty sure you still keep it. And they actually mentioned if you have more than 3 commander tags on, because they're becoming account bound now, if you have more than 3, you can ask for a refund, apparently.
Wasn't it 4?
3 or more, maybe.
3 or 4?
Pretty sure I remember 3. 3 or 4, one of them, yeah. Yeah, so sorry, I just wanted to answer your question there. So we were talking about the gambit. So this was data mined. Nothing is concrete. This is just, you know, what they're just looking at is the possibility of gambits during dungeons. So if you played the Crown Pavilion, the Queen's, what was it called? Queen's Gauntlet.
There we go.
You had the possibility of putting gambits on to increase your reward, so you could have gambits like you're always bleeding, or that everything hurts a lot more, that sort of thing. And some of the gambits, like to make the dungeons harder and obviously to produce more rewards, maybe. Some of the gambits were you had to do the dungeon with only 4 people. And I can't remember what the other gambits were, but you know, I imagine they'll be very similar to the Mistlock abilities in Fractals of the Mist, where you know, every level has a different, like, something wrong with it, like outgoing control effects don't last as long, or you randomly get hit by agony. So I think it works like that, which is interesting. Some people were really annoyed because it was like hard mode dungeons and they didn't really like that too much. I'm on the fence. I don't really have an opinion. Do you have an opinion?
Well, I think it kind of ties in with what we were talking about last week with breaking the dungeon meta. I mean, yeah, I honestly don't know how popular it would be, based on the fact that dungeons are basically just done for gold. I think it'd probably be popular for the first couple of weeks. Everyone's on the hype train. Oh, you know, let's have a go at the gambits and whatnot. But I think it probably be one of those things that died down unless you got substantial rewards for doing them. I mean, again, last week we were talking about, really, I think the only way to incentivize people to do harder dungeons is for a unique reward, like a unique skin or something that's only obtainable that way. So I think that's the way they'd probably have to go with it if they were to do it.
I think there's a difference between the people who do like sometimes when I do dungeons, I just want to do a dungeon. I just want to have something to do in the game. I just want to fly through it. I want to have easy content that's fun, you know, and that's what a lot of people do dungeons for. I think some people do want the challenge. Like sometimes I get on and I'm like, I want a challenge. I feel good today. I feel like I can rip things in half, you know. I want to try something hard. And I think maybe when people are in those moods, they'll go for the gambits. And gambits is a kind of cheap and easy way of trying to fix a dungeon, make it a little bit harder for hardcore people, give them that option without too many, without having to redesign the dungeon or spend a lot of resources. So I think it's a good trade-off, like not spending all those resources trying to make a hard mode dungeon.
I guess we'll wait and see if it comes out then. So
yeah.
The other thing then, we'll just glance over this because obviously we're more of a PvE show. So PvP standardizing visuals, there's going to be an option in team and custom arenas, I think only, for you to basically turn on standard models. So you'll basically, all humans, like there'll be a female human model, a male human model, male char, female char, and that will be the only model you see for the enemy. So the idea is so you can more easily identify skill animations and, you know, that sort of thing, really. I, as not much of a PvPer, I don't know how much of a problem it was, because for me, I'm just bad regardless. So
nothing to blame on anymore.
Yeah. I imagine for the PvP community, it's probably a welcome change. It's certainly not a bad thing, since you can turn it off and on depending on your preferences. And then the other thing, of course, is the unique reward track. Something they've kind of been pumping up. What's the word I'm looking for? Something along those lines. Is the PvP rewards that they've been trying to offer. So I think it's called the Glorious Armor Set. If I remember correctly, which you'll earn from doing PvP. I haven't read that much into it, as you can probably all tell.
Yeah, so it's like the reward track for the what's the back piece for Balthazar, the Balthazar back piece basically. So I think it's like the same, where you add your points to it and you get it at the end, which is I'm saying this with resent as a PvE player, like. I only say it because I'm a PvE player. Like, I need to have all the skins. I hate it when I don't have a skin that's not available to me. But I honestly do think the PvP people deserve their own skins. Yeah. As much as I resent it as a PvE player, I do think they deserve something special to them, you know? So it's a good thing. I think they're really making good progress for PvP.
Yeah, I feel like they're really trying to push it now. I think it was this week they announced I can't remember the exact name of it, the World Tournament thing.
Tournament of Legends?
No, it's whatever's happening in China, basically, for the $50,000 prize money. So it seems like they've kind of found a direction with the whole esports PvP scene now, and they're really pushing for it. So I mean, we've talked about this time and time again of how much is Guild Wars 2 and esports and all that. So I don't think we've got time to go into that now. But we'll see. I think that's been it for the feature pack so far. There has been some other stuff from Gamescom which I haven't had a chance to go through yet. But it's on the wiki, and it's on the wiki.
Sorry.
It's on the wiki, and it will be on GuildMag over the weekend as well, once we have our interview up. So the last thing we're going to talk about for this episode then, because we've already run over, is we've had a couple of questions in from Dari Shan. So if you also want to send in any questions or comments, you can, obviously using the comment system or the Twitch chat when we're live, or you can send an email to contact@guildmag.com. And Ali's just left me, so I'll do this bit for myself. So the first question that we've had from Daishan is, where do you think the game will be in a year? For me, it's kind of based on the current living world. We'll probably have seen new areas open up. We might have killed more Dramoth in a year's time. Maybe, maybe not. It depends how the next half of the living world carries on. You can just catch up, Ali. It's okay. And unmute your mic as well.
Sorry.
So yeah, we're asking the question, where do you think the game will be in a year? From Darishan.
Oh. Oh yes.
Based on its Skills 2's anniversary in 2 weeks. So I basically said, based on the current living world, we'll probably have seen some new areas open up on the map.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have killed more Dramoth, or at least done something with it in a year's time.
Yeah.
I think the big word on everyone's lips is expansion, with a question mark.
I was just thinking that. Oh my god, we're like connected. Yeah, I think that eventually they will bow down and expansion up.
Yeah, I think getting to the 3-year mark without even any big rumours of an expansion is probably a no-go. I mean, I know they're really invested in the living world, but I don't think they could sustain without at least saying we're making an expansion.
Yeah, we've got a great question actually. Do you think they will implement the scavenger hunt by Ms. Butter?
Oh,
that's for the legendary, by the way.
I'd hope so in a year's time.
Oh my god, me too. If I have to wait another year,
I couldn't do that. I'd hope so. I mean, that's really all I can say on that one. I mean, I'd be really sad if they hadn't. I mean, I can't remember how long they've been working on it now, but it's been 6. It's got to be 6 months at least, surely.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I was going to say something else. I'm forgetting everything today.
Both of us are a bit distracted.
Oh yes, I think, didn't they say they weren't going to do a new class? I'm sure.
Yes, they definitely won't be doing another class. Another race, yes, but not another class.
So I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, I was actually thinking about it, and I genuinely struggled to think of a concept for another class that didn't kind of already do what all the ones currently do at the moment.
Yeah, they're just asking for so much trouble doing another class, because balancing PvP is hard enough, and then just adding another class in there, you're just screwing with it. It's just something you do not do, I reckon.
Yeah.
Especially for Guild Wars. Guild Wars, it doesn't need another class. Like, they started with so many. They can add new weapons that will change everything, basically. They just add new weapons, and that will add more variety.
Miss Butters also said, what about ascended cooking / jewellery crafting? Jewellery crafting...
Good questions, Miss Butter.
I'm actually surprised they don't already have.
They don't need jewel crafting so much because of it. The jewelry drops everywhere.
Yeah.
Like from the fractals, from World vs. World, from PvP, just everywhere drops it. So you don't really need it too much. And then you can get it in other ways. So they're probably putting it off. Maybe in a year they'll have it, but it's not really something that I think is very big for them.
Do we think they'll introduce another tier of gear?
No.
I hope they don't. I
think they only added Ascended to make up for Legendary, so you didn't have to get Legendaries to be top, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say I hope they don't, because obviously it's going against everything they've said before.
Yeah, yeah.
So what about player housing, maybe? Would we finally get it?
I know. I think we already have player housing. It's called our instance. I think they might do things to improve it, but I don't think they'll go, oh look, we're introducing player housing. I don't think they'll ever do that.
We've had another question in from Vengeful. I think that's meant to be Vengeful Attacks, but without another A in it. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sorry. So he says, what do you guys think about the legendary necklace that was data mined a few months ago? I actually completely missed that. If that was...
Me too.
God, we're so behind.
Yeah.
If that's true, dog jumping up.
Don't scare me again.
Legendary accessories, maybe. I do accessories.
We've already got them. Laurels and commendations.
Yeah. So new legendaries. So talking about a season, generally a season 2 of legendaries, kind of ties in with what Miss Butter was saying about scavenger hunt. I kind of would like to see new legendaries. I think a lot of people are sick of the having just kind of one look. You know, like the ranger short bow is the horsey one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just couldn't invest time to get that. Like I'd like to see a more diverse pool of them.
Well, yeah, we do know that they're making more. There was that Norn kind of staff that had like a blue, what's it called, spirit's twirl and a raven sitting on top of it, which was practically a legendary. So they are making new ones. I think they will release it when they do the scavenger hunt. Whenever they do the scavenger hunt, please have the scavenger hunt soon, please.
Right. So yeah, that I think.
So should we? Yeah, go on.
What were you gonna say?
Should we talk about hype up the interview with ArenaNet that we had?
I was just gonna say. So we've kind of mentioned it all show. GuildMag has had an exclusive interview with ArenaNet. I've been told not to tell you anything about it. But there is. I can say that there is news about Super Venture Box, and there is news about how they're going to continue with the Living World and whether it's going to be more instances and more open world stuff. There is stuff about that in the interview as well. It will be up on the guildmag.com website either this weekend or Monday/Tuesday. It depends when we get back from Gamescom and how we can put it together for everyone. So do please look out for it. It's going to be really good. There's lots of interesting things in it. And yeah, if you're not following our Twitter or Facebook, make sure you do. We'll tweet and post about it relentlessly as soon as it's out.
Yeah,
I can promise you that. And I guess that's about it for this episode, unless you've got anything else you want to bring up.
No, I think anything else I bring up will take us way over time.
So yeah, thank you to everyone who's joined us on the stream today and who's not watching this live. Don't forget that we are live every Thursday, 10 AM GMT on twitch.tv/guildmag if you fancy coming and chatting to us. Big thank you to everyone in chat for your comments and your theories today. It's been really good discussing them and seeing what everyone thinks is going to happen. We will be back next week talking more about the feature pack and Gamescom and all that sort of thing, that when we can actually reveal what was said. So do make sure that you come and join us if you can, and we'll see
normal time next week.
Yeah, normal time. And we'll see you in a week's time. So bye everyone.
Bye everyone.